Michigan Out of Doors Magazine's OD is brought to you by Michigan United Conservation Clubs, protecting Michigan's rights to hunt, fish, and trap for 75 years. And by Williams Gun Sight. Located in Davison, Williams Gun Sight has Mid-Michigan's largest selection of used guns with over 2,000 in stock every day. Check out the website to view inventory and prices. And by MSU Federal Credit Union, helping members achieve their dreams since 1937.
Well, here it is. It's almost mid-July, and you know, it's that time of year when Gabe and I do fish a lot, but starting to think a lot about deer too. And we've got our trail cameras out, so we thought this would be a good time for us to share a little bit of information about what we look for in trail cameras, how we set them up. Where we're at here is this is actually a food plot. It probably doesn't look like much because it's not been a great food plotting year, but this was just sprayed by hand and then, you know, seeded by hand, and it's got like a clover and brassica type mix in it, and it's actually coming up a little better than I expected for the weather. But this is an area where I know the deer had been traveling through. It's pretty obvious by the trails, so while the food plot's coming in, I just went ahead and put this trail camera up. And this is just a kind of a bargain basement type trail camera. It's a pretty cheap model, and to be honest with you, it doesn't do everything it's supposed to, but a couple tips you can use if you get those cameras that, you know, maybe they're a little slower on the trigger speed or just not quite the super high quality cameras. If you'll put them in a spot where the deer are coming at them for quite a ways, like on this one, there's a good, I don't know, 15 yards where the trail comes right at the camera, it's going to give it a lot more time to trigger. So that's why it's pointing right up, you know, right up the trail. And it's a pretty defined area. They got to cross in between these two trees, so they're not going to be off to the side. They're going to be walking right at it. And usually I'll get, you know, at least 2 pictures of the deer as they come in, and it's on a 10-second delay. So I probably am missing some deer, but because I know the limitations of the camera, I set it up, you know, specifically to address that. So, well, it seems everybody has their own little method of how they carry around their SD cards and for their cameras. And I know Gabe has a method he'll probably share with you. I ran across one of these little Pelican cases that holds SD cards, and it's pretty compact, and it's waterproof, and it's, you know, kind of crush resistant. But I just had all kinds of trouble the last couple of years where I was just taking the SD cards, you know, throwing them in a pocket and go to switch them out. And several times I got back home, checking the card, and it was blank. I had put the one out of the camera back in the camera. So now I just carry this all the time. I make sure every card in here is blank, and they're all cards I want to use in my cameras. When I take one out, I put it in upside down. That way there's no question that it's one that I've used, and I know these are all cards that are going to work in the cameras, so I got everything with me. I keep them upside down. I only take one out at a time, and that way I don't get back home all disappointed that the camera, you know, the pictures that I thought I had are still in the camera.
Well, this little camera here is the Covert Red 40, and it's called the 40 because it has 40 LEDs up here on this LED array. This camera takes 8 AA batteries. It'll last all the season, which is fantastic. I mean, you put them in, you let it go, you never have to worry about them running out of batteries. I discard my batteries after the season just to be safe, but I've never had one of these ones that takes AA batteries go bad before the year is up. So, and that starts for me in July and doesn't end until probably February, or about the time they start dropping their antlers. I want to see everything that's going on this property all year round. So this is a great camera. It has an 8 megapixel sensor, which is nice, but you shouldn't put too much stock in how many megapixels a camera has. This one has 8, but it takes very, very good pictures. Some cameras may even have 10 or 12, and they don't take very good pictures at all. It really depends on the sensor itself, not necessarily how many megapixels. This one takes great photos. It has a good sensor. I've got a licking branch out here that's quite a ways out there, and it senses that no problem, takes good pictures. So let's go take a look at the other one in the Extreme series from Covert. It's called the Black 60. Well, here you go. If you're looking for something with a black flash, this one has 60 black LEDs, so it'll take pictures that you cannot even see the flash. If you put it in a dark room and you walk up to it, you can't see the flash on this. So although I don't bother with that too often, there are places that I have that I don't want the neighbors seeing the flash. I don't want them walking by and seeing that camera and it come up missing. And most black flashes only illuminate maybe, you know, 25-30 feet. This one has a 50-foot flash range, so it really can reach out there and give a good flash, and it fills in really nicely, and it takes fantastic pictures. Now this one is going to take a few more AA batteries, but they're going to last the whole season, so it's no big deal. This one again is the Black 60. It's a nice camera from Covert Trail Cameras.
Well, this unit right here, Bushnell Trophy Cam, it's actually my favorite camera that I own, and the reason really is because it's simple and it works. I really like the smaller cameras. I like the ones that use the AA batteries over the bigger batteries because the battery life is so much longer. And if the battery does run out, it's a lot easier to go and find, you know, a pack of AA batteries at like a gas station or someplace handy than try to get, you know, 6D batteries or C batteries. And it's got a, you know, really good trigger speed. The flash on it, it's LEDs. It's not, you know, one of the bright flashes. It's a night vision type of flash. It triggers like it's supposed to. I don't feel like I miss any pictures of deer. It has, you know, I think it's a 5 megapixel, so they're plenty high resolution photos. It can do video. I never really set it to do video because it will eat the battery so much if you get it in a good spot. But it's just one of those cameras that's, I think, probably about 200 bucks, so it's not cheap, but it's not, you know, outrageous either. And I've just had really good luck with it. The battery life on it, I think these are these batteries I put in the spring. I won't probably have to change those the entire year, even all the way through the fall, and it's going to shoot thousands and thousands of photos. So couple things, you know, to look for. Does the camera use AA batteries? You know, I don't worry too much about megapixels. Anything above 2 megapixel, 3 megapixels, plenty big enough. But you want to get a unit that's, you know, well made, and unfortunately that means you got to spend a little bit of money because, you know, they don't want you don't want water leaking in there. You don't want them to where, I've had cameras before where the infrared, when the infrared comes on, it puts a little filter over it. If that filter hangs up, your pictures are going to look funny. So you know, you gotta spend a little bit of money to get a camera, and I really like these Bushnell ones.
This here's the Leopold RCX 1. This is a kind of a unique camera that we were really excited about. It's an 8 megapixel camera, but once we got it, we realized it's quite a bulky design, kind of an odd design. It's not square, it's not oval, it's kind of different. But it's got a nice mounting bracket. You can screw this in and out to angle the camera where you need it to be angled. And then, but the one thing about it is you have to use a controller. This controller hooks up via the USB port on the bottom of the camera here. You plug it in, you turn it on. The nice thing about this camera is you can walk into an area, you can plug it into the controller, and you can download all the photos that are on this onto the controller and take them off with you. You don't have to have extra cards or anything. You have a card in this, you have a card in here, you plug it in, download it, and walk away, which makes it really nice. And then you can also view the pictures on this controller. So if you want to take a look to see if it's positioned right or anything, it also has a positioning feature on here where you can actually look at the screen, move your camera where you need it to be moved, and you can see it being moved right here. So you can see everything. It's very easy to set up because you can see everything. It had pretty good resolution on the pictures. For an 8 megapixel camera, it's a little bit disappointing. They're a little bit grainy. The sensor is real good. It lights up really well at night, has an LED flash, so you're not gonna spook anything. All in all, it's a good camera. This is one where I think guys, if they want to buy one camera for their area and use it for everything, this is probably a good camera for it because they can just use 2 cards, one in there, one in here, and you can download it. It's easy to use. Takes a little bit of knowledge. You can't just pick this up. You got to read the manual because it does take a little bit of effort to figure out the settings and how to set this camera, and you do have to bring this in the field every time you go in there along with the cord. So it's a unique camera. runs right around $300 for the whole system here. Pretty good camera, and one that you should take a look at this fall.
Well, here's a new camera. It actually was available last year for the first time from Moultrie. And to be perfectly honest with you, I do not like Moultrie cameras. I've never liked the ones that I've used. This one's completely different though. Things I didn't like about the previous Moultrie is they used the big C or D batteries. The battery life wasn't very good. Didn't feel like the camera build was very good. They seemed slow to trigger, not great quality photos. This is completely different than all of that. It uses AA batteries, much smaller obviously. The battery life on it's really, really good. I think, again, I could probably expect these batteries to last the entire season. It triggers fast. It takes really good photos. The night photos on this are as good as any I've ever seen. It has some special, LED technology that they're using, but the night photos are super bright. They're still black and white because it's infrared, but they're really, really clear. It'll push out there quite a ways. So the nice thing too is these are about 40 or 50 bucks less than the Bushnell, and pretty much comparable in features and the way that they work and the quality. So again, $135 to $150 camera, probably the least expensive camera I would personally get, and can tell you that, yeah, you're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna do what it says. But this is definitely one to check out, and I know they've made some improvements for 2012. They have a couple other models of this size. I haven't had a chance to test them out yet, but the Moultrie M80 is definitely a camera that I would recommend to you.